fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rid of the outside, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up top!
Oh my God!
Oh, big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled!
Six very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go! Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
The following is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
Welcome one, welcome all to SimSpeed TV for once again the Oceanic Dirt Sim Events 360 Power Series, round 10 of the championship from Limaland Motorsports Park, presented this week by DSCCS iRacing League. That's the Dirt Sprintcar Championship Series, providing over $100 worth of prize money to this event, round 10 of the series. My name is Reese Gardner, and joining me in the commentary box tonight is Cameron Dance. Cam, round 10 of a 12-round series. It's been a hard slog for quite a few drivers, but now we come to a real bull ring in the former Limaland Motorsports Park. It's a quarter mile of insanity.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's a very radical change in terms of track layout and pretty much just the track in general, from having long straights and tight corners at Williams Grove to now something a lot smaller and a lot more compact with higher banking. It's sort of like a mini Eldora in some sense, that's track, due to the fact that it's just so high in banking, but also actually not that slow in terms of lap time. So it's going to be quite interesting to see what happens tonight, and really looking forward to it.
Yeah, you can carry a lot of speed around this circuit with the flat bottom and the very highly banked top of the circuit. We're going to see probably more than a few drivers put a right rear into the wall at some point, and that is going to really affect how the championship standings look coming out of this round. Coming out of round 9 at Williams Grove, well, there's a couple of surprises because Mr. Joel Berkeley has overtaken Tim Ryan as our points leader. Drop rounds still have to be applied, but Berkeley, in terms of the numbers as they stand, is currently on top with 4 feature wins to Ryan's 2.
Yeah, he's actually got a decent margin to some extent over Tim Ryan at the moment, after winning last week's show at Williams Grove. So it'll be interesting to see what happens once drop rounds are included and where he stands against Tim and the rest of the field does as well. But yeah, it's really, really tight at the top of that top of the championship at the moment between Joel Berkeley and Tim Ryan. And then you obviously got some nice, pretty close battles further down. Gavin Saylor and Brenton Hobson duking it out for that 8th place and that sort of stuff. So it's actually tight at the top, and then obviously tighter further down the field.
Yeah, certainly. But that top 10 in the championship, Trent Gosley currently holds on to that 10th place, and Aston Hurley is only 6 points behind him. So there's going to be quite a few changes, quite a bit of jostling here tonight at Limaland Motorsports Park. And we'll be waiting to see how things turn out. But Joel Berkeley, I would think, is probably one of the favorites because he's had a fantastic run over the course of this season. At the start, we thought that Tim Ryan would be consistently the man to beat, but he's fallen into issues in the mid-season, making contact with other drivers and not getting into the high placings that he necessarily needs to. So Joel Berkeley, I reckon, has a good chance of taking this one tonight, but it's a very short track. It's a very long race. We got 50 laps in the A main, so anything could happen, Cam.
Yeah, certainly. One of the longer races in terms of number of laps that we're doing tonight is going to be tonight with the 50 lapper. We've seen 30, 40, 35, that sort of stuff for lap count, but tonight 50 laps, it's going to be a very long race, a matter of just keeping it out of the wall.
Yes, indeed. We've only got a couple of minutes left before the drivers go out for qualifying, and it's going to be another short one, 4 minutes in length. Every driver has 2 laps to set a time for the heat grids, for which we will be inverting the top 4 positions. And every single start is going to be on the iRacing green flag. So uh, quite a few more interesting elements to think about here tonight. The drivers will be used to those short, sharp qualifying sessions, but will they be used to Limaland itself? Limaland, I should say. For some reason, Cam, I instantly go to Limaland as a default pronunciation, but that is 100% wrong, isn't it?
It depends on who you ask, because some will say it is that, some will say it's Limaland, some will say it's Limaland. There's just all sorts of different accents and different people who say it in different ways. So I won't criticize you for it because you're not the person and you won't be the last. So nevertheless, it's going to be all about what happens in qualifying tonight.
Yes, indeed. Drivers are currently lining up at the pit exit for a couple of short laps in a very quick warm up, but we should note that race control would like the track to be preserved as much as possible over the course of this night, because we've seen over the course of the last 10 rounds how much the track deteriorates over the course of a night, and they want to try and avoid that here at Limaland. So they're going to be holding a vote during the I think through the shootout, on which they're going to decide what the track state is going to be for the feature. Are they going to reset it, or are they going to continue as is? Either way, it's going to throw up a couple of surprises.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's really going to make things interesting because no one knows what the track's going to do. You don't know whether they're going to reset it to something that's low usage, or they're going to keep it as it is, or whether they're going to reset it to something that's a little bit higher usage. You don't know. So it's really going to be just a guessing game for a lot of the drivers, and more or less just once they see the track state, instantly know to go towards X setup.
Yeah, X setup and X driving line as well. At the bottom here at Limaland, it's very flat. You have to rely on mechanical grip, and smooth acceleration is required to get the car out of the turns. As we get cars on track now, you'll see a few drivers dealing with the high line as well. The high line does get a much better exit around here on account of there being more banking, slingshotting the car down the straight. The middle could come into play later on, because Limaland is quite a wide track, and it seems like either the very top or the very bottom is the place to be a lot of the time. But later on in the night, we could see some drivers running mid.
Yeah, we certainly could, and we could even see some drivers running right up against those inside tyres and even clipping them and making mistakes and spinning out, unfortunately. So it's a really weird track, obviously, because you've got that flat bottom, like you said, and then the very high banking on the outside. So it's really all about how your car's set up and just more or less what you're comfortable with. Obviously, the top side's going to be slightly quicker here majority of the time, just primarily due to the fact that there's more banking up there, and obviously the cushion's going to eventually form. But yeah, it's really going to be quite fascinating to see what happens and whether that midline does actually start to come into it.
Yeah, around here, around this track, I would posit that you need a car that's stable under throttle, but at the same time is nice and pointy on turn-in, because these turns, though they are fast, they are very tight. This track is only 1/4 of a mile long, and you see just how cramped of a space it is here. And with 20 cars or so on the grid for the feature tonight, it's they're going to be packed like sardines, aren't they?
Yeah, they certainly are. There's not really going to be much room for an incident to sort of happen anywhere on the track, because everybody's going to sort of jam up together and be so close together that it's probably going to involve a number of drivers if there is an incident. So it's really just going to be about keeping your heads up and being aware of what's going on around you and making sure you don't end up in that wall and end up getting collected by everybody behind you.
Exactly right. And seeing some drivers trying their best to get around this track as fast as they can in the warm-up, just determine what the state of the track is. But the checkered flag is being waved, and we're going to go straight now into the qualifying session. Every driver only has 2 laps to set a reasonable lap time, and that's going to decide how we start for the heats. So 4 minutes is now away, and the first driver, one of the first drivers out on the track, Carl Hoffman's in the number 33. He's had quite a few good races this season, but hasn't quite been able to get up into the podium positions, up into that top 4, top 5. He has been there every so often, though. He's a good talent behind the wheel of that number 33. In his first lap time, 11.646, currently last of all the drivers that have set a time. Zachary Fellon currently, no, Trent Gosley right there, pips it with an 11.431, but the times are looking pretty close there. Top 5, all in the 11.4s.
Yeah, it's really close to the top, and obviously the short nature of the track kind of amplifies that a lot more, and actually does make it that much more difficult to try and put yourself up the front of the field. Is you might end up being further down the field, but it's not actually that big of a margin. But around here it is in some respects. So yeah, it's just really all about making sure you hit your line and hit your marks properly. And Joel Brickley straight to the top as well with an
Wow.
11.244.
11.2, and Harry Stewart not far behind on a 2.95. Callum Davidson now, having set his times. Good enough for 4th, but he's been knocked back to 5th because Jock Goodyear's just come through and put himself into 3rd place. Corey Steinhauser, unfortunately not able to do any better than around 19th at the moment. Hayden Pascoe on the verge of the top 15 as well. Best lap, an 11.5 for him. Oh, okay, that's not going to help his run there. And you just saw there, Cam, it really shows some of the pitfalls here at Limaland Motorsports Park. You go into those turns too hard up the top, there's a concrete wall waiting right for you on the exit.
Yes, certainly. And there's those openings in the wall as well. If you end up hitting it slightly too early, you end up pretty much throwing the rear end straight out of the rear of the car. So you really do have to be careful that if you're going to hit the wall, you kind of want to do it on that straight bit instead of hitting it where it's sticking a little bit further out and is going to pretty much destroy your car and destroy your race. So yeah, it's really risk versus reward, especially running that top side.
And did you see that time from Hayden Cardwell to put himself up the top? An 11.1 pretty much from him. Dale Jordison with a little bit too much oversteer on the exit. He's not going to be able to get himself up any more positions, but Hayden Cardwell with that time. Tim Ryan has got quite a difficult run ahead of him. He set his first lap time and he set his second as well. 11.244 was the time he was setting, but it looks like all he can manage for the moment is 3rd. So he's going to be starting in 4th place in Heat 3.
Yes, so Tim actually struggling there a little bit. He actually went slower on a second lap as well, which is sort of not really all that normal like we've seen in previous rounds where everybody seems to go a little bit quicker on their second lap. But nevertheless, Hayden Cardwell and Joel Berkeley stomping their authority already into the night with qualifying.
Yes, indeed. And it looks like the vast majority of drivers here have set times. Caden Brown has not set a time in this session, though he was present in practice. And Caden Brown is currently running higher up in the championship. He's currently in 6th. So if he wants to continue that run, continue fighting for potentially a top 5 position, he needs to get out there now. Not much time left. Actually,
Yes.
there isn't going to be any time.
No.
The clock has run out. So that's going to be it then. 4 minutes of qualifying is one and done. Hayden Cardwell, your official fastest driver, but he's going to be starting in 4th place for this first heat of the night. Zachary Fellon is going to start on pole for this one with Callum Davidson alongside him. Down in 3rd is going to be James Rice with Cardwell alongside him. Jordison and Castagna on the 3rd row. Travis Castagna, one of the drivers to watch out for, as well as Ethan Bastian in 7th place. Devon Butts as well, a driver who we've seen fighting for podiums in heats. Could he repeat it here? Cruz McVie and Hayden McCandy rounding out the 10-car field for this heat. Only 8 laps here, Cam. It's going to be a nice quick one.
Yeah, it certainly is. 11 seconds. Well, yeah, pretty much 11 seconds in 8 laps is going to be over just like that. So it's going to be just all about me watching out to see what happens, because it's going to be pretty difficult to try and keep up with everything that's happening.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, the way this goes, if you have never watched this series before, is that the iRacing pace car is going to go around for 2 laps and then release the field for an 8-lapper. But in the A main, the final race of the night, it's all going to be manually controlled by race control, and we will have a counter up on the top left of the screen when that happens, so we'll be able to keep track of how many laps have been completed. So now, as the cars have moved off, they've got 2 laps to assess the state of the track, and after qualifying, it looks like a couple of good grooves have started forming.
Yeah, some interesting grooves actually. There's sort of a groove up top, obviously, but there's also probably a little bit of a groove on the bottom in the middle as well. Obviously, the entry to the 1 and 2 is looking quite slick, but yeah, it's weird how this track sort of forms in the way that it wears, but yeah, it does produce some really good racing, and we're about to go green.
Yeah, we'll see how good the racing is here. Going on the green flag, and it looks like Callum Davidson almost went early. That was almost a jump start for him, but it's a clean start for the rest of the field. Davidson finding the wall, though. That's not going to help him as the field clams up behind him. Zach Fellon, though, leads across the line as they begin lap 2. Down on the inside, James Rice attempting to make his way up, and he's now trying to go side by side with Travis Castagna. Meanwhile, they're all getting into the wall up the front, and Callum Davidson goes for the slide job to try and take the lead. Is he successful? No, he's not. All the momentum lost on the exit. Zach Fellon keeping the lead, and he's moving down low.
Yeah, he certainly is doing a fantastic job at the moment. As Fallon, another slide job from Hayden Carwell this time, nearly puts himself in the fence, but doesn't quite get the job done, just like Callum Davison did. And now he's going to try the outside as Hayden Carwell through turn 1 and turn. You can see the overspeed of just running so much higher, and he's pulled already 2 car lengths out of just turn 2 alone.
Fantastic running there. Oh no, it looks like Davidson's found the wall properly here, and he's fallen back now behind James Rice, who was running in 3rd. So big problem for Callum Davidson, and Ethan Bastian has got his hands full as well. He's having to fight with Dale Jordison. They're almost making contact in these final 2 turns, battling for 5th.
Yeah, they certainly are. They're all going at it between Ethan Bastian and Jordison, with another slide job into turn 1. Going to throw it up the inside, not going to clear him, and a bit of contact for good measure as well, but unfortunately that's not going to happen by the looks of it.
And it looks like Hayden Cardwell coming across the line there at the end of 8 laps to take victory in the first heat of the night. So he, Zach Fellon, and James Rice are all going to go straight through into the feature. Cardwell and Fellon are going to go through into the pole shootout, and still deciding exactly what format that is going to take. It's going to be voted by the drivers. Now it's time for Heat 2. Damian Rasmussen and Brenton Hobson making a very interesting front row there, but Lewis Hewitt and Joel Berkeley right behind them on row 2. Oh, I'd be scared. Ryan Harrison, Sean O'Hara on row 3, with Hurley and Davies on the 4th row. Carl Hoffmans and Lockie Beattie rounding out the top 10. This is looking like a very competitive field for the second heat.
Yeah, it certainly is, especially in that top 5. It's very, very competitive. Top 7 probably, actually, realistically, and probably the entire field, it could stand a chance of getting through. So it'll be interesting to see who comes away with this. Obviously, Lewis Hewitt and Joel Berkeley staying on that second row is really, really going to be a strong row to try and defend for these 2 SSR drivers just ahead of them. So it's two of the big heavyweights in Aussie NZ dirt racing going head-to-head, Synergy Sim Racing versus Slick Sim Sports. It's going to be definitely a duking out between these 2.
Yeah, it certainly is. And looking at the track, you can see that especially on entry, there's some very hard-packed clay forming, and a little bit down at the very apex at the bottom of the turns as well. So starting to see some very heavy usage of those top lines of the track. And on entry into the turns, that's definitely going to mean a lot of oversteer on entry, which sometimes you want.
Yeah, sometimes it can help. Sometimes you doesn't really work and you don't want it, but nevertheless, we'll see how these drivers handle it. Green flag is in the air and we are underway, and a pretty good jump there by the car of Brenton Hobson as well to go around the outside, and Berkeley's going to follow him through, and big jigger.
Oh, there we go. Hewitt's off. Lewis Hewitt off onto the infield. Joel Berkeley trying for that lead, but Brenton Hobson covering him off there. Rasmussen got a very bad jump off the start. He started pole and now he's down to third. Berkeley with the slide job on Hobson, and it looks like he's just about taken the lead from that, but no, Hobson is going to take him right back here. Can Berkeley get the run down the front stretch? A bit of a crash in the background, meanwhile. Clayton Davies and Lockie Beattie involved as Lewis Hewitt gets back going, but Brenton Hobson putting on one heck of a defense here against Joel Berkeley, and I feel like this is going to continue on for the second half of this race.
Yeah, it certainly is. These two cannot be separated at the moment. Hobson with a slide job into turn 1. Berkeley's going to drive back underneath, and Berkeley's going to throw a slide job into turn number 3 to get the position back, but Hobson going to come back out, and Berkeley's slightly in the wall there, and he's going to drop back behind Hobson once again with another slide job. Going to drive straight back underneath him into turn number 3. Same repeats. Berkeley with the slide job up the inside, and Hobson going to drive it straight back underneath, and this is amazing racing, and Rasmussen's going to get involved in this too.
This is why Limaland is such a good track. It's just slide job after slide job after slide job, lap after lap. Well, Berkeley currently leading. Hobson could get the run here as they cross the line to start the final lap. It's all going to be decided here. Hobson with a spin, half spin in the middle of the turn. That's given the gap to Berkeley that he needs. Hobson is going to keep second though, maybe. No, he's not. He's lost right out there. Finishes third behind Rasmussen, but Joel Berkeley taking that win. An excellent run. He fought hard and he fought fair with Brenton Hobson. So both he, Hobson, and Rasmussen are going to go through into the feature tonight. Time for Heat 3 then, Cam. Jacob Dixon and Trent Gosley lining up on the front row with Jock Goodyear and Tim Ryan in the second row. That is a stacked top 4 right there. Dylan DeBono and Hayden Veld on row 3, with Oldfield and Sadler sharing the 4th row. Bradley Oldfield putting on some interesting drives in the last round at Williams Grove. Will be interesting to see how we can go here. John Schultz and Vince Romeo rounding out the 10-car field. So Gosley, Goodyear, and Ryan are the names that immediately jump out to me there. Jacob Dixon is going to have his hands full with these guys.
Yeah, certainly he is going to have his hands full with the likes of Gosley, Goodyear, Ryan, DeBono, Veld, Oldfield, and Sadler, all behind. We're really going to be trying to find their way inside that top 4 to try and transfer through to the A main. So it's going to be a hotly contested final transfer spot, that's for sure.
Yes, and we'll be keeping a close eye on it as the race continues. But Tim Ryan, we know from previous rounds, starting there in 4th place. He's a driver that once he gets out into the front, there's pretty much no stopping him. He really likes having a clear track ahead of him, so he'll be wanting to try and clear these guys as soon as he can, but with the likes of Dixon, Gosley, and Goodyear, it's going to be a tough ask at the best of times. Green flag flies. Jacob Dixon is going to lead them away here for Heat 3, sticking well to the inside, moving up to the outside line, trying to cover off the advances of the leaders, but Jock Goodyear going for that move for the lead. There's a crash in the background. That's Oldfield and DeBono have come together, and it looks like Goodyear's had some problems as well. He's marked all the way back into 5th place, it looks.
Yeah, he's dropped back a little bit, clipped the outside wall out of 4, and they're going to be 3 wide nearly out of turn number 4, and a big incident for Goodyear.
Oh, that's huge. Goodyear absolutely pile drived there, and it looks like he's going to be on his side. He's going to have to wait for the consolations to try and get through into the feature. Long night ahead for Jock Goodyear, but Jacob Dixon is still leading this race from Tim Ryan and from Trent Gosley. But the big battle here is for 4th place. Vince Romeo just holding off Gavin Sadler here, who is contending with Hayden Veld side by side coming out of turn 2.
Yeah, Veld doing a fantastic job to just hold off the car of Gavin Sadler at the moment. They're still going to be side by side though into turn number 1. Sadler's going to try a slide job and move him, because barely going to pull it off. A little bit of contact just behind them as well between Oldfield and Schultz, but Sadler's still trying everything and put a contact.
Oh, just a bit too much contact there between Gavin Sadler and it looked like Hayden Veld, but unfortunate for Sadler. Not going to work out well for him. Up the front though, looks to me like Jacob Dixon has absolutely stepped up to the plate. He's faced off against the likes of Tim Ryan and Trent Gosley for 8 laps, and he's come home with the victory. Fantastic job from Jacob. He's going to move through into the feature along with Tim Ryan and Trent Gosley as well. So there we go. A very frenetic race. Gavin Sadler's going to have to work hard to get through the consolations as well. Danny Vassell and Brad O'Brien line up on the front for the 4th heat of the night. Aaron Kelly and Harry Stewart right behind them, with Sanders and Pascoe on row 3, Steinhauser and Redpath, Norman and Brown rounding out your 10-car field once again. And it looks like this is going to be the last heat of the night. After this, we're going to be moving straight into the consolations.
Yeah, so already the night is starting to just fly by instantly quick. It's ridiculous how quick it's already gone, and that we're nearly into the consolations. It's only been about 30 minutes since the session went up, so it's going by absolutely rapidly, and just goes to show that despite the fact that it's a short track, racing that it puts on just makes it even shorter.
Yeah, absolutely. I love these short, fast, frenetic tracks like Limaland and Fairbury and even the Chili Bowl as well. Some beautiful short dirt ovals here on the iRacing service, and really loving the application of dirt racing formats to this sim as well. You get a really good view there of just how tiny Limaland is. It's barely a quarter mile long, and you barely have any room around this place, and one spin can put you right in the infield. Well, pace car is pulling away, and it goes in. Brad O'Brien and Danny Vassell leading the field away. Green flag flies, and it looks like a poor jump from Vassell, but he's got the line into turn 1. He's not going to hold it, though. Through goes Brad O'Brien on the outside to take the race lead and putting it right into the groove once again, but he catches the packed clay. And unfortunately, bit of oversteer put him back down through into the field. Aaron Kelly now holding on to 2nd place and now starting to challenge Vassell. Have a look down at the bottom, though, because Bradley Sanders is working it nicely.
Yeah, Sanders making that bottom side of the track work quite well, actually. And Danny Vassell with a big slide job, and he's in the fence. No, that isn't actually Sanders. That's someone else. Brad O'Brien and Aaron Kelly.
Oh, man, that is a big shame for those guys. So they're going to have to get through the consolations as well. Battle for the lead is well and truly on, though, because Danny Vassell is only just holding off Harry Stewart here. It's a titanic battle between these two for the race lead. Harry Stewart holding that inside, but it looks like Vassell, he's only just riding that very fine line between speed and destruction on the outside, and he's getting those good exits down the straights to prove it. Going to be starting the penultimate lap imminently, so Harry Stewart is running out of time to take this race victory.
Yeah, he certainly is. He's got to start to try and make a move. As we say that, he throws a slide job into turn 3 and 4, but not going to get the drive off the corner, and he's going to try into turn number 1 with a big slide job, but again, Vassell just having the run off the corner and going to hold on to this one.
Yeah, it looks like he is, and for 3rd, Hayden Pascoe is just enough ahead of Bradley Sanders to take that 3rd place, so he is going to join them all in the feature. Vassell and Stewart will go through into the pole shootout. So those are the results then. Just 0.2 of a second between the top 2 at the very end. Now we move straight through into the C main. It's going to be 10 laps, and the top 2 from this race will go through into the next consolation, the B main. And have a look at this field. Sadler and Norman on the 1st row with McVie and Hewitt behind them. Oldfield and Redpath 5th and 6th. Hayden McCandy and Lockie Beattie on row 4 with Dylan DeBono and Aaron Kelly rounding out the top 10. It's 14 cars in this one. The last 4 are Devon Butts, Aston Hurley, Jock Goodyear, and Brad O'Brien, with Goodyear starting all the way back there in lucky 13. He's going to have a very tough consolation.
Yeah, he certainly is. Jock Goodyear's got a big mountain to climb ahead of him in this race. It's only 10 laps as well, so only 2 extra laps to try and get his way up this field, but it's going to be a very, very tough ask to come all the way from the back to get inside those top 2 especially.
Indeed it is. But I also think that McVie and Hewitt plus Oldfield have it in them to make it through to that top 2 as well. Norman and Sadler, though, starting on the front row. We know that Gavin Sadler has some skill in these 360 sprint cars, but we've mostly seen him tonight trying to find his way past people. This will be the first time tonight that we see him try to keep a whole field behind him.
Yeah, it certainly will, and it'll be interesting to see how he goes holding the field behind him in what is a very competitive C main. But pace truck is off with green flag in the air, and actually a very good start there by Nathan Norman.
Yeah, but it looks like Gavin Sadler holding the middle is going to try his best to edge him out. Coming into turn 4, just making a little bit of contact as everyone piles into turn 3. Have a look at Cruz McVee and Bradley Oldfield as we see a huge crash on the back stretch. McCandy, Redpath, Norman, Butts and Hurley all involved in that. So not good news for the drivers at the rear of this field. Very good news for Jock Goodyear, however. He is now fighting for fourth place. But oh no, just as I say that, he comes together with Bradley Oldfield and gets turned around, and Oldfield is just ricocheting off everyone at the moment. That's some smoke coming out of the back of Dylan DeBono's car. This is a chaotic C main already.
It certainly is. It's a bit of a world war scene going on with cars stricken everywhere and bouncing off walls and everything. But battle is well and truly on for the lead at the moment between Sadler and Hewitt. Hewitt running the top side, Sadler running the middle side of the track, which is a little bit interesting. But that outside is just so strong, as Hewitt is proving.
Yeah, just motored around the outside of Sadler there. Well, it's a 10-lap race, and they're coming around to start lap 7, so Hewitt has done everything he needs to, but Sadler is going to be watching over his shoulder because Cruz McVee is rapidly closing in these last few laps of the race. Oldfield is currently in 4th. Goodyear, meanwhile, mired back in the pack. He's all the way down in the field at the moment. In fact, it looks like he might not even be on track at the moment, so unfortunate that we say goodbye to Jock Goodyear. Coming around to start lap 10, though, Lewis Hewitt in about a lap's time, currently on lap 9, and it looks like some very close battling here in the back for these minor positions. Oh, Lockie Beattie just backing out in time. Aaron Kelly trying his best to keep that thing going straight. But Lewis Hewitt, final turn for him, and he is miles ahead of Sadler, and he's going to take the win in this C main. Moves through to the B main, so does Sadler, which is fortunate for him. We say goodbye to Cruz McVee, Bradley Oldfield, Hayden McCandy, Lockie Beattie, Dylan DeBono, Devin Butts, and many others in that particular heat. Some very painful stories to come out of that one, especially for Jock Goodyear. He had a big chance.
Yeah, he certainly did, and really unfortunate for Jock to end up getting caught up in the incident that he did, as he clearly was going to be on to get through to the A-main, but that's the way that racing goes sometimes.
Well, time for the B main. It's going to be 12 laps now for this one, and Callum Davidson's going to start on pole with Sean O'Hara lining up alongside him. Vince Romeo and Bradley Sanders in 3rd and 4th, with Ethan Bastian and Ryan Harris sharing the next row. Veld and Steinhauser in 7th and 8th, with Dale Jordison and Carl Hoffmans rounding out the top 10. 16 cars, Schultz and Brown on the next row, Castagna and Davies, then Hewitt and Sadler, the top 2 from the C main. They have got a very long B main right ahead of them here.
Yeah, they certainly do. With 12 laps ahead, it's going to be a little bit of a longer one, and the track's starting to get a little bit tougher and tougher as the laps start to tick on over across this track. Starting to see some interesting grooves starting to form up. See that top side starting to take a bit of rubber by the looks of it on the way into turns 1 and 3, especially with the fact that everybody's been running up on the top side. But that middle side does seem to have a bit of fresh clay down there, so might start to see more and more drivers start to use it and have a bit of grip.
Yes, indeed. But that line up the very top is still a small strip of fresh clay up the top and a nice groove that's formed that drivers can definitely use. But we'll have to wait and see how it all works out, because this field has got quite a few drivers who could vie for that top 2 spot. Hewitt and Sadler probably not going to challenge for it right away. It's going to be all about the start from Davidson and O'Hara, which we are going to get imminently. Pace truck is coming in shortly. Right now, pulling into the pits. And now, field comes under the control of Davison. Very difficult to start here at Limaland. one of the shortest gear ratios available on the sprint car. But we are now away, and Davidson's going to try and hold the lead here into turn 1, running over the tyres. That's really killed his momentum. That's allowed O'Hara to come through into the lead, but Davidson still trying his best to hold on to that second place. Bradley Sanders and Ryan Harris on that outside line, and there's a big crash in the background. Tumbling over is Caden Brown. It looks like we might have to say goodbye to him after this race is done.
Yeah, really unfortunate for Brown there, and a couple of drivers really banging and bashing each other around in that first lap or so further back in the field. But it's really on at the moment inside this top 5 with Harris, Sanders, Romeo, and all those other drivers fighting for the position. And that's a car on the wall.
Huge crash. Ryan Harris just catching the wall, and Ethan Bastian as well. Both of them are now pretty much out of this one. So it's still a top 2 battle now between Sean O'Hara and Callum Davidson. They still held these top 2 positions, but have a look at Lewis Hewitt. In the midst of all of this, he's put himself up into 3rd place and is now challenging for the lead.
Yeah, he certainly is. Lewis doing a fantastic job to come through to put himself in a very good position for the A main to start up better than he normally would have, but nevertheless, it's looking like it's going to be all Lewis Hewitt at the moment. He's running that middle line and seems to be working very, very well at the moment. Runs the high side through turns 3 and 4 and is getting to get a massive amount of overspeed, although it seems like it's sort of balanced itself out with the bottom side at the moment, and Davison not able to have anything out of turns 1 and 2, though.
Yeah, out of turns 1 and 2, it seems like Davison just can't get the run that he needs, but Hewitt, with masses of momentum, he's just extending that lead now, so it now becomes a race for second. Davidson is holding on to it, but right behind him, Bradley Sanders and Dale Jordison putting on a 2-pronged attack for the second place. And have a look up the inside, potentially was Bradley Sanders trying to get around Mr. Davidson, but no dice for now. He holds on to second, and that's one heck of a job he's doing at the moment.
Yeah, he certainly is doing a fantastic job at the moment, and it's really starting to show this track is starting to really become a challenge, especially with the way that the groove is looking. That bottom side even starting to take a bit of rubber now with the fact that a lot more drivers are starting to use it. But nevertheless, it's all on at the moment. 3 wide down the front straight for second place between Jordison. Oh, no, current round.
Well, there we go. That was just after the finish line. Lewis Hewitt taking the win by 2.8 seconds over Callum Davidson. He holds on to that second and gets through. So now the top 8 from this will go through into the feature. So the last driver to finish in the top 8 was John Schultz. And we have to say goodbye to Gavin Sadler, unfortunately. He put on a great run tonight, but that is the way the proverbial cookie crumbles. With Hewitt, Davison, Jordison, Sanders, O'Hara, Romeo, Davies, and Schultz, your top 8 from the B main, they'll all get through to the A main. But now we move on to the pole shootout, and it's going to be a little bit of a surprise for us up here in the commentary box, Cam, because we're either going to go for a 1v1 shootout, in terms of like World Series sprint cars style, or it could be a 1-lap shootout, every driver independently.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what it is. It's looking like it's possibly going to be looking like it's pole shuffle. So not a shootout, it's going to be a shuffle.
All right, well, there we go. Harry Stewart is the first car out on track here. And this is how we're going to decide pole position. The way it works with the pole shuffle is 2 drivers come out onto the circuit each race for a couple of laps, and the driver that finishes ahead gets to stay on track and face off against the next challenger. The driver that ends up beating everyone at the end is going to be the pole sitter. So Harry Stewart and Tim Ryan going to be facing off against each other for this one. Coming through the final turn, and they are away. And Harry Stewart looks like holding the lead for now, but Ryan using that inside line to get the over-under done superbly. Losing that momentum, though, in 3 and 4, with Stewart crossing the line ahead. And Ryan going through for the slide job, trying his best there, but Stewart lining up the exit perfectly. And after that little 2-lap sojourn, it looks like Harry Stewart is going to keep his place there on the track. Got to remember, these guys may have to worry about fuel, though, because if they stay out on track too long in this shootout session, they're not going to have any fuel to face off against the final challenges.
Yeah, that is one of the risks you do tend to take in these sort of scenarios where you don't really anticipate you're going to stay out all that long. So you try and fuel the car as little as you possibly can without underfueling yourself, of course. But there is those unfortunate moments where you do have drivers under fuel, and we are back and underway. Rasmussen with a bit of a poor start actually compared to Stewart, but it's going to get a nice run into turn number 3. The big slide job to the top side. Stewart going to drive it underneath and take the lead on this one. And Rasmussen going to throw it back to the inside, clips the tyres though, and is going to be dropping way too far back.
Yeah, way too far to the inside for Rasmussen there, and Stewart's going to hold him off very nicely here, crossing the line, keeping his position once again. These are little 2-lap dashes between two cars. So the next driver out on track is going to be Zachary Fallon. Now, watching these two guys matched up directly is something that I haven't seen too often. It'll be interesting to see how this goes for 2 laps. But I found it interesting, that strategy that Rasmussen was employing with his stoush with Stewart. He ended up going a bit slower into turn 1, but that allowed him to line up a late apex and jet back by him. So there's a chance here that Zachary Fallon could have been observing that and might have learned from it. Maybe think about how to do it better as we go green now for this third run of the pole shuffle. Zach Fallon holding the inside once again, but Stewart looking superior using the high line, and Fallon immediately moving up to try and counter it.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's going to have anything for him, though, is Fallon, unfortunately. Stewart just seemingly too far ahead at this point and too strong running that top side. Fallon tries the middle, but is not going to have any speed, and Harry Stewart is going to go through to the next round.
Once again, Harry Stewart, he's looking very good for pole position here. Managed to beat Tim Ryan, which is certainly a feat. So we'll see if there are any other challenges to him, as the next driver out on track now is Danny Vassal, who is another driver who is of similar pace to Stewart, but Stewart has a bit more experience here with the track. He knows how it is at the moment. He knows where the best lines are. Immediately moving up to the outside, Vassal is going to take the lead here down the back stretch, and he's going to hold it through 3 and 4. What is Stewart going to do? He goes down to the inside to try and protect it, move up, trying a slide job, but Vassal immediately seeing it coming and covers him off. Is he going to do the same thing here? No! Big slide job from Stewart, and it looks like that rendition of the pole shuffle might just be struck from the record, so to speak, with a bit of biffo over the line.
Yeah, bit of a controversial finish there, but I think Harry Stewart did actually let the car of Danny Vassal on by to actually give that one to him after realizing that he sort of screwed that one up. So a little bit of sportsmanship there from Harry Stewart.
All right, so Danny Vassal is going to assume the slot of the defending driver here. And look who he's going to be facing up against. Jacob Dixon, the driver that in the third heat started from pole and won. So got a good amount of pace under him here as Dixon. But we'll see what Mr. Vassal can do on the outside. Not much at the moment. Dixon goes right on through and assumes the outside line. Vassal, though, trying his best once again. It seems like the over-under is a very popular thing to do here at Limaland. They're through into the final turn of the lap now, and it looks like Dixon is going to finish ahead by a hair's breadth, less than a car length between himself and Danny Vassal. So he is going to stay on. And finally, now we will start to see the big challenges emerge. Joel Berkeley is now out on track. Remember, this guy has won the last 3 out of the last 4 features, and he's starting on the inside. This is going to be an interesting matchup as they go green.
Yeah, it certainly is. Berkeley straight to the top side with a slide job and blocks off Jacob Dixon on the way through. So Berkeley into the prime position at the moment to hold on to this lead. Dixon with a big slide job into turn 1 and 2, but not quite going to be able to get it done, unfortunately. Berkeley is going to come away with this one and take the victory.
He certainly is, and wasted no time doing it either. Joel Berkeley across the line there. And we're coming into the final few now. Hayden Cardwell is going to be the last driver to come out here with Cardwell in the heats, starting in 4th in Heat 1 and winning it. So an excellent run from Cardwell to start off the night, but this is the first time he'll be seeing the track since the first heat. They start. Cardwell moving up to the outside once again, but the pattern continues. Berkeley goes for that over-under and gets it done. Can he hold off Cardwell, though?
Yeah, that was very close to ending in tears for Berkeley there as he just brushed the outside wall through turn 4, but nevertheless holding on to the position. The Cardwell goes low to try and get the drive off the corner, and he's just going to get him.
Woohoo! All right. Bit of contact across the line never hurt no one, except probably Joel Berkeley. That was quite the interesting way to take it, but you could see that Cardwell was ahead at the line. So now we wait to see if there are any other challenges coming out, but it looks like Hayden Cardwell, with that, has secured pole position for the A main here at Limaland. And thanks to the Dirt Sprint Car Championship Series, title sponsor of this round, if he ends up winning the feature, he could get a $60 cold hard cash payout. It's $30 for second and $15 for third place. And DSCCS is also contributing an extra $5 to our traditional hard charger award for the most positions gained in the A main. It's $5 from Simpson Safety Australia Queensland, and it's $5 from DSCCS. Big thanks, guys, for supporting this championship. Certainly a fantastic series and worth it. But now we are in this warm-up session, and the drivers will be taking one final look at how the track has evolved. It is looking very slippery out there at the moment.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's looking very dark on the entries and exits of the corners, especially in turns 1 and 3. So really going to be very tricky is this racetrack to try and handle, especially on that top side, and it's looking very rough at the moment around that top side on the cushion. So you're not going to want to put a foot wrong and put yourself in the wall, especially if you're running up the front of the field. But we'll see what happens and see if anybody goes conservative and runs that low side.
Nice slow motion shot here. You get a good sense for how fine the drivers are cutting it, running up into the wall there. Very close, very little margin for error here at Limaland Motorsports Park. It opened in 1935 as a horse racing track known as Allentown Speedway, and in 1998, it came under the stewardship of the University of Northwestern Ohio. A big thanks to our friends at Motum Simulation on the replays. But now, Limaland is a premier dirt racing venue, and certainly showed it in the iRacing service as well. Drivers ultimately not voting for a track reset. So now the start procedure begins for the A main. There's going to be 2 laps behind the iRacing pace truck and then 1 extra lap for the field to be shuffled into its various positions, and then we'll be able to go green. Really looking forward to seeing how this one turns out. 50 laps around a track that is already looking very worse for wear. It's going to be a tough night for quite a few out there.
Yeah, it certainly is going to be a tough night out there for a few people, especially those starting further down the order, where it's going to be all about just keeping it out of the walls and making sure you don't end up with any problems, more or less, and just trying to move your way up the order. But if you're someone like Joel Berkeley or Hayden Cardwell, someone starting up the pointy, and you're probably going to try and want to build a gap as quickly as you possibly can. But You're also going to want to make sure you can try and navigate quick traffic as quickly as you possibly can as well, because it's definitely going to be a factor here in a 50-lap race.
Yes, indeed. Traffic is going to be a big factor, and the track temperature as well, gradually falling over the course of the night. Started out above 30 degrees, it's now down to 28, so it's a little bit more grip, I think, available for the drivers on the fresh clay, but on the smooth clay, a very different story. So now begins the final pace lap before things get underway for the A main. Looking forward to seeing how Cardwell and Berkeley match up. What about Jacob Dixon and Danny Vassell starting from the second row? What can they do? Can Tim Ryan salvage something from this? Can Lewis Hewitt do something? We'll have to wait and see for one more lap. The drivers obviously getting their hearts beating quite quickly. Pacing at low speed around a dirt track is very heart pace raising stuff. It's only one more corner then until the iRacing green flag takes us away. Hayden Cardwell and Joel Berkeley, a very even start at the front as we go racing in the A main here at the DSCCS Dirty 50 at Limaland Raceway Park. Have a look at Jacob Dixon trying to come up on the inside, putting himself up into second potentially here versus Joel Berkeley. Harry Stewart as well, working the inside line, almost going 3 wide out of turn 2.
Yeah, they're really scrapping for it back there. Oh, and Vassell with a bit of contact from behind from Fallon, but he manages to just hold on to it. So really going at it at the moment. Tim Ryan kind of stuck at the moment with the fact that Fallon, Vassell, and Rasmussen all going 3-1, battling very hard at the moment, and a bit of a contact back there.
Yeah, tiny bit of contact back in the field, and it almost all went wrong for Tim Ryan, Damian Rasmussen, and Danny Vassell, but they're continuing. And there's a caution out. It looks like one driver has not managed to get it going.
Looks like Bradley Sanders has had a moment further back in the field with also Vince Romeo, I think, or John Schultz. Yeah, John Schultz has had a... No, it's actually Clayton Davies has actually had a spin and not left Bradley Sanders with nowhere to go, unfortunately, out of turn number 2. So Sanders front end looking a little bit worse for wear with the fact that he's got no front wing on that car anymore. But yeah, it's so far one caution and not too many laps in.
Yes, indeed. Modem simulation replay of what happened there, and just looks like a bit of contact in the wrong place, just sending a car completely sideways. It happens every so often. Bradley Sanders has been waved around the pace car, and Clayton Davies, as a result of that incident, has been given an end-of-line penalty by race control. He will start right at the back on the restart. So we've completed the next lap. Looks like we've gone green once again after that caution, and Cardwell holding off the lead very nicely from Joel Berkeley, but jostling around in the back, Jacob Dixon has lost out to Harry Stewart, and Stewart now rapidly closing in on our top 2. But you see drivers all working the very high or very bottom line. Berkeley going for that late apex, trying to launch himself down the front stretch here at Limaland. But it looks like Hayden Cardwell, with steely determination, is holding on to it. Bit of an incident in the back. Dixon and Rasmussen briefly coming together, but it looks like Rasmussen is going to hold them off and get that 6th place, just holding on to it. It's a big, big pack of cars behind him. And just ahead, Tim Ryan puts the move on Danny Vassell, and he just gets it right back.
Yeah, he certainly does, and fantastic move there, but it's all going off in the back end of the field at the moment. 3 and 4 wide in various parts of the circuit. They're really not leaving anything on the table and getting their elbows out. It's really, really crazy back there, but Tim Ryan has finally got himself into that top 5 as well. Vassell's in the wall, and so's Tim Ryan.
Oh no, and immediately the caution is out. A huge, huge crash. Vassell and Ryan coming together in the turn 3 and 4 complex, and that is certainly worth a Motum simulation replay as the drivers form up behind the pace truck. And what happened here exactly? Ryan is ahead on the inside, Vassell just behind him. It looks like Vassal trying to hold that outside line, and Tim Ryan, he's trying to see the opportunity. And this has happened over a couple of laps. Oh, there we go. That's what happened. Vassal actually caught the wall himself, and Ryan had nowhere to go.
Yeah, and it was just barely ended up getting caught in that, did Tim Ryan, but that's put him way down the order now, especially. But he's actually very lucky because he actually managed to hold P5 somehow, despite ending up spinning out and being involved in that incident. But back to green flag conditions, and we're back underway, and Joel Berkeley with a good jump on Hayden Cardwell.
Yeah, and he's managed to take the lead out of that one. Berkeley now holding the lead, and the yellow flag has immediately come back out because there was a car having troubles in the first couple of turns. Brenton Hobson finding the wall. So that ended up causing a bit of an accordion effect towards the back of the field. And as a result, Jacob Dixon got spun around as well. So Dixon, after a pole and a win in the heats, is all the way at the back of the pack now.
Yeah, unfortunately, is after what happened there, so he's not going to be too pleased with that. Is Jacob Dixon and Brenton Hobson, who's been given an EOL for that incident as well. So Hobbo right to the back of the field now, but we'll see what happens here. And I do believe it's going to be a single file restart this time by instead of double.
Yeah, well, if the rules state that if there is back-to-back cautions, then the restart will be changed to single file for the next restart. It'll also be single file if the caution happens in the last 10 laps. So this is just a preventative measure to space out the drivers a little bit so that we can get racing again. As the green flag flies, and away we go. Joel Berkeley holds on versus Hayden Cardwell, but Harry Stewart trying his best to get up onto that second place. Oh, another car up and over in the background. The caution immediately comes out again. Damien Rasmussen. It was a rather large crash that happened there for Rasmussen, Cam. It's not what he would want at all after starting in 6th place for this A main. What happened to him here?
Yeah, it just looks like he's come out of turn number 1 and just ended up clipping that outside wall, unfortunately, and it's pretty much ended up hitting that opening as well, and then from there has been hit by Callum Davidson. So unfortunate for Rasmussen there, and his night will be over by the looks of it. So unfortunate for Damien Rasmussen, considering the night that he had leading up to that time.
Indeed. Well, only one more lap here behind the iRacing pace truck, and retirements so far: Rasmussen, Callum Davidson, Danny Vatsal, and James Rice all out of this A main. We've only had 11 laps completed so far as we go into green flag racing again. This is going to be a long, long night. Have a look at Harry Stewart down on the inside, trying to make it work versus Cardwell and Berkeley, but they're holding on nicely up the top. Tim Ryan following them as well in 4th. And in 5th, Zachary Fellon holding off the advances of Lewis Hewitt. Looks like it's been a nice clean restart so far, seeing Lewis Hewitt just get into the wall a tiny bit, but other than that, it seems like the field have got it largely sorted. But our leaders are going to come up onto traffic very shortly if this green flag run continues.
Yeah, they certainly are, and traffic isn't too far away. They were exiting turn 2 as they came into turn 1, so they're not too far up the road. But Cardwell was running the bottom side that last time by through 3 and 4, but Berkeley's still continuing to run that top side. So bottom possibly has something there, but it's possibly not quite there just about.
Yeah, it looks to me like these guys are largely using a ride the wall for the first part of the corner and then bring it down a bit to the middle for the exit. Gets a nice, straight, grippy exit, does Berkeley, managing to hold off Cardwell. But more battling back in the field. The 4th place battle between Ryan, Fellon, and Hewitt is certainly looking heated at the moment. Hewitt with some great exits running that inside line. It looks like he's managed to get through on Fellon as Fellon finds the wall.
Yes, another position gain for Lewis Hewitt there. Remember, he started in P13 in this race and dropped back a little bit as well due to being involved in a few different elbows out moments, but nevertheless, he's doing a fantastic job to be inside that top 5 now and to be on the hunt for Tim Ryan, who just barely brushed the wall there. So Tim seemingly struggling tonight at the moment around here at Limaland. It hasn't been his best track at the best of times, so we'll see whether he can try and recover anything out of this. Remember, Berkeley is winning the championship at the moment, so Tim will just be more or less trying to keep that points gap as close as he possibly can, but with Hewitt right behind him, he's not going to have much options at this point to try and have to defend.
Yeah, well, Hewitt's move is probably going to happen very shortly, but I've been looking at the battle for 8th place as Hewitt goes for the slide job. Is it going to be successful? Oh, not quite. They managed to avoid getting into each other too much, but man, that was quite the incident. This battle for 8th with Hayden Pascoe and Vince Romeo facing off for that position just goes to show no matter where you are in the field, there's some close racing to be had. These guys have been trading places all main long.
Yeah, certainly, and they've got the likes of Trent Gosley and Co not too far behind them, and 3 wide for that position, just behind between Gosley and the likes of Sanders and Davies. So it's really a big scrap going on here for the positions just inside and just outside the top 10 at the moment. About 5 cars in that battle.
Yeah, it's looking quite heated, and one of them missing a front wing. A little bit of contact between Sanders and Gosley. Sanders, Sands front wing. And 3 wide once again between them. Brenton Hobson is going to be licking his lips looking at this. And oh, I've just seen Joel Berkeley, our leader, get into the wall right behind these guys. And Hayden Cardwell is right on his bumper. Berkeley with a rare mistake.
Yeah, small mistake there from Joel to put himself just over the cushion and into the outside wall. Lucky to recover that and hold off his teammate Hayden Cardwell, but nevertheless, those two out the front have really broken away from the rest of the pack. They've sort of got checked out from everybody else as well as Harry Stewart, so it's really on. But Lewis Hewitt is going to try and make a move on Tim Ryan, and they're going to make contact between each other. Now Zach Fallon's going to get on by Tim Ryan, and so is Lewis Hewitt, so it's going to be a return serve nearly from Tim Ryan on Lewis Hewitt, but that is 2 positions lost for Tim Ryan.
That's a big shame for him, because these 2 guys are looking quite strong at the moment, Fallon and Hewitt. Fallon running that inside line very nicely. Obviously, a lot less cornering speed, but he makes it up on the straights, being able to get on the throttle a little earlier. Hewitt holding on, though, to that position, and he seems to be liking that outside line. Ryan running all the way up to the wall, but you can see right there, Hewitt with the much better exit once again.
Yes, certainly. Hewitt doing a fantastic job. Just seems to have a slightly stronger car at this point in the race, considering the track conditions are very tough. It seems to be working for him quite well, running that mid to high line as well.
Yeah, big traffic for the leaders here. Joel Berkeley having to slice his way between 2 bits of traffic, and Cardwell could certainly see an opportunity here. Oh no, car around and down on the inside line. That's Vince Romeo catching one of the tires and flipping over. That's brought out the caution.
Yeah, we did say earlier in the night that those inside tires were possibly going to catch someone out and have them end up with issues, and there is a prime example of that. Those tires bite when you do try to just use that inside a little bit too much.
Yes, indeed, and onboard view of it. We'll see what happens to Romeo here, and it was coming down into turn 4, running that inside nicely, but yeah, just completely sideswiping that tire, almost cutting the corner, and that is the reason those tires are there.
Yeah, it certainly is. Yeah, it's not actually really supposed to go down there. It's sort of, I guess, what you call the apron of the circuit, and you don't want to be going down there too often. So those tires are there to try and stop that, and we're back to a double file restart. So we'll be interested to see what happens this time around. Who ends up getting the jump? Tim Ryan going to be on the outside as well, back in P6. Green flag is in the air. Good jump for Berkeley, and a good jump from Lewis Hewitt as well.
Yeah, Hewitt's done very well in that one. And have a look at Harry Stewart, who resumes 3rd place. Everyone trying their best to find a piece of grippy clay. It looks like our 2 Slick Sim Sports teammates are starting now to break away as Hewitt and Stewart are really facing off against each other now. Stewart just taking the position from Lewis Hewitt, but once again, it looks like it's going to be another outside versus inside dichotomy between these two. And Tim Ryan is going to have his hands full both in front and behind because he's got Zach Fellon, Dale Jordison, Clayton Davies, Trent Gosley and co. right behind him.
Yeah, he certainly does. It's an absolute hornet's nest of cars behind him, trying to stalk him on a bit of contact just behind, but manages to all save, and we're still green. 10 to grow this time by, so the laps are starting to count down, and Tim Ryan's points at 12 to go, sorry. So we'll see what happens, but nevertheless, it is definitely starting to have that points gap. It's starting to slowly but surely increase for Tim Ryan between himself and Joel Berkeley.
Yeah, it looks like it, and that battle back in the pack seems to have fallen off the back of Tim Ryan and Lewis Hewitt. Ryan going for the move on Hewitt, but losing out on the exit once again. The slide job pitfall shows itself. So Stewart now has a nice big gap over these two in third, but the Slick Sim Sports teammates of Cardwell and Berkeley completely untroubled up the front here, running line astern. Question is Mr. Cardwell going to throw a move on the last lap? Because it's coming up very quickly.
Yeah, that is going to be a big question, and there's no team orders to my knowledge at Slick Sim Sports, not from what I've experienced, but a caution has come out for Trent Gosley.
Okay, Trent Gosley in a very poor position there, laying on his wing. And we will get a replay of that thanks to our friends at Modem Simulation. See what happened to Mr. Gosley here. And he was mired right in the pack of cars. Question is, what is the trigger for this spin of his? Looked like some three wide running up ahead and just getting collected.
Collected Fallon by the looks of it, who came off of turn 4 a little bit too sideways after a bit of contact with Tim Ryan and just had nowhere to go.
Yeah, wow. That's a huge hit, and that would have brought a lot of damage to Trent Gosley's car. He has a couple of bent bars on the front of his machine as he sits in the pits. I think we will say goodbye to Trent Gosley after this. And Joel Berkeley now still holding the lead and working on his championship charge. Restarts are now going to be single file in these final 10 laps of the race. And it's 5 to go, according to our administrators, as we start racing again. And have a look at Cardwell immediately. Didn't waste any time trying to get up the inside of Joel Berkeley there. He knows that he doesn't have much time left to try and take this victory, but Berkeley has covered him off nicely once again. Stewart holding on to that third place, and it looks like there's a nice gap back to Lewis Hewitt and Tim Ryan, the battling pair. Hayden Pascoe has found himself in the middle of all of that as well.
Yeah, he certainly has, and he's trying to put a move on Tim Ryan, trying to run that mid to low line as well, and seemingly doing okay against Tim Ryan, who's running right up against the outside fence as well. But 3 wide is on for the lead, though, between Harry Stewart and Joel Berkeley and Hayden Cardwell. And Cardwell on the inside now with the lead.
Yeah, he got a great run there. Berkeley, I think, pushed a little bit too far into the wall and allowed Cardwell to get up the inside, but he's going to trade it right back to him. Cardwell into the wall. He manages to keep going, though. Just goes to show how little grip there is left on the track. It is white flag for these guys as they come across the line. Joel Berkeley, it looks like, is going to take the victory here. He takes it versus Hayden Cardwell. And Harry Stewart coming home in third place. I mean, it almost went all wrong for Joel Berkeley at the end, but he held on.
Yeah, an amazing job to just hold on was Joel Berkeley, and barely did enough to hold on, but nevertheless, fantastic battle in the end, and really was a great battle. And Lewis Hewitt just managed to hold off Tim Ryan at the end of the race as well. So Tim, unfortunately, losing a few points in this round, but he'll be definitely trying to come back next week strong and better.
Yes, indeed. That is the top 10 there, the finishers in this race. And it brings to an end round 10 of the ODSE 360 Power Series. Man, what a round that was. And we will wait now for driver interviews to come in. And it looks like our first is coming in now. Harry Stewart joins us in the commentary box. Surprise, Harry. Sorry, I know you just jumped into the channel. But congratulations on your third place here. It looked like quite a fun round, and the track was losing quite a bit of grip at the end.
Yeah, it was a challenging track towards the end. Sort of trying to follow where Joel and Hayden were running to see where the faster line was, but sort of found something in the bottom of 3 and 4, which sort of helped me because the top was pretty scary. But yeah, super happy to stay, or sort of stay with Hayden and Joel. They're some of the best on the dirt sim side of things.
Well, it looked like quite the battle between you, Tim Ryan, and Lewis Hewitt in the first half of the heat. How was it going for you with them? It looked like everyone was trying to search for a spot on the track, especially when you came up to traffic.
Yeah, it was a bit nerve wracking. Or doing the whole race pretty much at the start and those restarts we had when they were double file. Just trying to make sure I didn't wreck myself or hit the wall. But yeah, when we got to lap traffic, I was sort of hoping Hayden and Joel would get held up more, so I could have more of a chance. But the yellow came out, so sort of ended that. But then it was a late race, yellow, so got me another chance.
Nevertheless, a podium finish in the A main is a good way to cap off the night. So it's a good consistent run then to continue your championship charge. Second place in Heat 4 as well will bring home some valuable points.
Yeah, I was sort of going away from looking at the points. It sort of helps my head on race night sort of things, not worrying about that, which yeah obviously helps having less pressure on you. But yeah, super happy to get I guess consistent points all tonight.
And fair enough, Harry. Before we let you go, who would you like to thank? Who gets it done for you? Shout outs and sponsors.
I'd just like to thank Brady for putting this league on each week, you guys for broadcasting, everyone at United, Sim Sports, Valvoline, Too Easy Finance, Western Mazda, Paramount Isuzu Ute, Adrad Radiators, Green Bros Racing, Ultimate Dirt TV, and Origin Graphics.
Thank you very much, Harry Stewart, for joining us. That's your third place finisher in the A main here at Limaland. Next up, Cam, I know you two might be getting a bit sick of each other by now, but our feature winner, Joel Berkeley, has just popped in for a chat.
Well, Joel, it's 4 in a row now, I believe. So you definitely have to be pleased with that.
Yeah, I don't think it's four, is it? I think it's three, but got to be pleased with that. It's it's always cool to battle with teammates like that, and Hayden has a lot of respect, and yeah, it was a cool race with Hayden there.
Yeah, it certainly was. Now, we kind of do have to ask if it did happen or not. I'm pretty sure it didn't. But did Hayden actually let you by to take the victory, or did he not?
No, you know yourself, Cam. There's no team orders here, so um, I I I butchered it with two to go, I think, in 3 and 4, and grabbed the ball, and I was like, oh well, this is over, and I threw the slider on Hayden, and well, luckily enough for me, unfortunately for him, he grabbed the wall on the last lap, and yeah, was able to get the job done, but um, there's no team orders, that's for sure.
Well, that is what I thought. No, that answers that question anyway. So, with Volusia up next once again, are you looking forward to it?
Well, hopefully we can lead the race this time for the last corner, but there's hasn't been a certain someone the last few weeks, so hopefully we don't get wrecked last corner like we did last trip there. But hopefully look back for retribution, I guess you could say.
Yes, well, it certainly will be retribution. And with Tim Ryan obviously ending up a little bit down the order compared to where he normally would have been, it'll help your championship. But before we let you go, any shout outs and any thanks you want to give?
Yeah, well, I don't know what it's doing for points. I know I'm leading points overall, but I know I'm still behind with the two drops. So, um, just play the last 2 weeks as is, as whatever it is, it is. But yeah, look, massive thanks to the guys at Slick Simsport, all the guys that help out there, JD for spotting tonight, Mitch Harris for spotting as well, and everyone that helps out and yeah makes this deal happen. It's appreciated to all the guys there, and thanks to Hayden for a good race.
Well, there you have it, Reese, your feature winner for this round and heading to Volusia now for the second time this season. It's going to be looking forward to seeing what happens.
Yes, indeed. Once again, now our feature winner, Joel Berkeley, taking home $60 in cold hard cash from the Dirt Sprintcar Championship Series, title sponsor of this round. Big thanks for your support, guys. But yes, next week we go to Volusia for the second time this season. Same length as Eldora. It's fast, it's flat out, it's got a tightening final set of corners. We saw some fantastic racing last time we were there. Certainly looking forward to more. Well, that brings to an end proceedings for tonight here on SimSpeed TV. Thank you very much to Oceanic Dirt Sim Events for putting this series on. Always puts on an excellent show. Another big thanks to Simpson Safety, Australia Queensland, sponsoring the Hard Charger Award, and of course, Dirt Sprintcar Championship Series for your support of this round. From all of us here at SimSpeed TV, we'll see you here at the same time next week at Volusia Speedway Park. It's bye for now, but not forever.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's coming in the outside, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, here we go. Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?